Recently, I ranked every Call of Duty Black Ops 6 multiplayer map and put them in a tier list from the best to the worst, and the worst being Modern Warfare 2019 levels of bad. Well, today we're back with another tier list. Today we are ranking the Warzone maps. We just had a new Warzone map added to the game. So I thought, you know what? It's a perfect time to sit down and reflect on all of them. Enjoy. Now, the tiers that we have for this Warzone maps list are the best, very good, good, meh, bad, and the worst. All pretty self-explanatory, so let's get into it. First map up for today is Rebirth Island. Now, there's not an awful lot that needs to be said about Rebirth Island. It is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, a community favourite. If you ask the majority of the community what their favourite Battle Royale map was for Warzone, they will probably either say Rebirth Island or Verdansk. Now, Rebirth Island keeps coming back. It's gone from Zombies map to Battle Royale favourite without a shadow of a doubt. For me, I'm going to put it as a very good map because it's one of those maps where, yes, it keeps coming back, and I kind of wish that it wouldn't keep coming back. I kind of wish they would invent something new. However, the new Resurgence maps that they do invent typically cannot hold a torch to Rebirth Island, and I do find myself just playing Resurgence and thinking, it's good, but it's not Rebirth Island good, and that's why Rebirth Island is a very good map. Up next is Verdansk 84, which was a reskin of Verdansk. It dropped with Cold War in 2020. And basically, it gave Verdansk, it sent Verdansk back to 1984, and it gave Verdansk a Soviet sort of state feel to it. I would say a lot of the sort of, you know, the artwork and the POIs and stuff were very similar of the times that you would expect to find in the Soviet Union at the time. So, for me, aesthetically, great map. A lot of the POIs were very, very good. However, I will say that because they didn't change an awful lot, which one is a good thing looking back on it in hindsight, but at the time and at the time of playing it, which is all I can look back on at the time of playing it, is that I don't think they changed too much, and that was the issue, because by the end of it, the community was calling out for a new map, and looking back now, yes, that was a bad decision. However, the community were crying out for a new map, so I'm going to put this as a good map. It could have been better, but you know what? It was pretty solid. On to Fortune's Keep. Now, this was the second ever Resurgence map that was launched for Warzone behind Rebirth Island. And for me, I never actually really vibed with this Resurgence map at all. I know they had it in the original Warzone. They brought it back in Modern Warfare 3's life cycle with a big hole in the ground. Both versions, for me, I never really enjoyed all that much. I always found the audio to be really weird. And don't get me wrong, that's saying not an awful lot for Call of Duty Warzone because the audio typically tends to be very, very weird. However, I never really enjoyed this setting. And it goes back to what I was saying with Rebirth Island, that, yes, other Resurgence maps can be good, but it always leaves me wanting more, and whereas Rebirth Island doesn't, and it kind of goes back to that feel. For me, it's one of those maps where I just never really vibe with, never really liked. I will say ranked, Resurgence ranked did play good on it, and I kind of wish that we had seen more Resurgence ranked on it. However, I think the developers are too scared to remove ranked from Rebirth Island, just because of how dominant Rebirth Island is. However, overall for me, Fortune's Keep, as I say, I never really liked it. For me personally, it's a bad map. Now, as I mentioned before, if you ask the Call of Duty community what their favourite Warzone map is, they will probably say it's Rebirth Island or Verdansk. If you ask them what their worst Warzone map is, they will probably say Caldera. Now, for me, this was a good Battle Royale map, but a really, really bad Call of Duty map. And because of that, it's all down to Peak being in the middle, that stupid mountain volcano, whatever the hell it was, POI, slap bang in the middle of the map, that meant every other POI and every gunfight and every sort of rotation just had to end up flowing uphill for the most part, and it ruined the map. If you had Peak on the outskirts of the map and like one of the corners, like top left, top right, bottom right, this map would have been, in my opinion, phenomenal. It launched very, very broken after what had been a solid year for Cold War. Obviously, I know we were still in the middle of the pandemic, so it would have been a bit up and down. However, 1984 Verdansk was solid, and then we got Caldera. However, the community would say it's a bad map, but I actually really, really enjoyed Caldera. It was one of the times where I just loved playing Warzone. I wanted to get on Caldera constantly. There was never a bad change to Caldera. Now, don't get me wrong, the barrel was very, very low at the start anyway, but I just loved Caldera, and I would happily play Caldera again in a heartbeat. If someone said, you can play Caldera tomorrow, I'd be absolutely buzzing. I really enjoyed this map. It obviously was not by far and above the best Warzone map we've ever had. I will hold my hands up and say that. But for me, I really, really enjoyed it. The jungle setting was fun to me. Yes, visibility was a bit rough at times, and I say at times, pretty much all the time. However, I really enjoyed this state of Warzone. So for me, I'm going to say it was a good map. On to the current big map in the form of Urzikstan. Now, I've always said that this map was stale when it dropped. It continued to be stale all the way through Modern Warfare 3's life cycle, even though there was updates to it. Then those updates got reverted recently, when Black Ops 6 integrated, and now we still have Urzikstan in the same format that it was when it dropped a year ago when it was stale. This map, I don't get what the plan was for this map. I really don't understand whether or not it was ever meant to be updated. It feels like it wasn't. It feels like they kind of was going to give us a big map and then just kind of supplement Warzone throughout Modern Warfare 3's life cycle with Resurgence, which they did. And they just neglected big map wholeheartedly. This map dropped with 100 players, and they did up the player count to 120, but again, that made it feel really slow. The flow of the map was off. There's actually no hot drop on this map, which is really, really odd, because I can think of a hot drop pretty much for every other Call of Duty map, but not for Urzikstan. For me, it's a bit of a shot in the foot for them releasing Black Ops 6 without a big map. Obviously, I know we got Area 99, I'm going to talk about that soon, obviously, on this list, but for me to not release a new big map with the integration of Black Ops 6 is a massive mistake. We do actually have a big map sat waiting. It is in the form of Avalon. It's mentioned in the Black Ops campaign quite a bit. And you'll also see, if you load in the multiplayer maps, you'll see Avalon and some of the locations for the maps. That's because they're in the new Warzone map we should have got this year. However, they've decided to scrap that and save it for next year until we get Verdansk in the spring again, which, again, I think is just a massive L on their part. This map had potential. It was kind of released at the time of the revival of Warzone. Obviously, we've gone through Warzone 2 and the sorry state that was. And then we got Urzikstan, which was meant to be part of this movement revival. It isn't. It does play a little bit better with Omni movement, I will say that. However, it's still not fun in the slightest. I'm still bored of it. And that's why I'm going to have to put Urzikstan down as a bad map. Up next is Asika Island. And this is probably the only Call of Duty map that we have in this list that hasn't been taken out because of a new game dropping. This was vaulted midway through Modern Warfare 3's life cycle, and basically the only thing to say that I can say about Asika Island is it was just depressing. It really was. This was released not long into Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2's life cycle as a Resurgence map. They did buff the movement when they released this map a little bit, so we could slide a little bit faster and stuff like that. However, it was obviously nothing to what we've got now. And the colour palette was so grey, so dull, that Warzone 2, coupled with Asika Island's colour palette, made for one hell of a depressing experience. The map wasn't really all that fun, I think, because of that. For me personally, if they had made the colour palette like Rebirth Island, this map might actually be pretty good. It was set like sort of I want to say a Japanese sort of temple-esque place. You could have had that like sort of, bright, like, like bright sunny skies, and you could have had like bright blue seas around it. You could have had like cherry blossom trees and stuff like that. Instead, you give us this grey, dreary, depressing experience, and that's why I have to chalk Asika Island down as the worst Warzone map that we've ever got. On to the newest map on this list, and that is Area 99. It is a desert map that is based on Nuketown, the iconic Black Ops map. Basically, this is sort of like a Nuketown building facility kind of thing, where you have the different mannequins and you have like the different Nuketown houses that would be shipped off to other parts of the desert to be used in nuclear tests and nuclear bomb experiments. That's the premise of the map. Now, because it's a desert map, the colour palette is a little bit hit and miss. I will say it's very vibrant in some areas. It looked a lot more vibrant when it released in comparison to what it did at Call of Duty Next. So props to the developers for taking on that feedback on board and saying, you know what, yes, we don't want another Asika Island on our hands. However, few problems with the map that I've got. I think it's a very, very hard map to regain on if you die mid-game. And purely because of this is because that most of the buy stations, if you can picture Area 99 map, is that most of the buy stations go from the top all the way down the right-hand side of the map to the bottom. And then there's only a few at the bottom, and there's nothing on the left-hand side of the map. However, there is like hot drops, like pods on the other side of the map, but there's no buy station there for some odd reason. 1, very hard to regain on. 2, visibility on the map, very rough to see as well. I think because it's a desert map and there's a lot of yellow on the map, it's hard to kind of pinpoint where people are shooting from because there's a lot of yellow, black, those kind of shadows. It's really hard to see what is going on the map. Thirdly, once again, for some weird reason, in Call of Duty we have a dominant high point in the middle of the map that team can easily just shoot down on everyone else on. Not ideal for these maps. I will say that it's not the worst Resurgence map that we've ever had. Obviously, that's Asika Island, as I've just said. However, I can't see longevity in this map. If someone said to me, tomorrow, right, we're going to remove Area 99 and then going to be back in the game, I probably wouldn't lose sleep over it. I probably wouldn't even bother tweeting about it. I probably wouldn't be bothered trying to play it one last time. It's not great, but it's not bad either. So for me, it is very much a Met Call of Duty map. Now on to the original Verdansk. And for me, there's not an awful lot I need to say about this map. It's kind of obvious where this is going to go on this tier list. This is probably the closest we've ever got to having a perfect Warzone map in terms of what we finished with at the end of Season 6 of Modern Warfare 2019. I think that was probably the best state of Verdansk. The vehicles were great. POIs were great, movement was great, the fall map was good. The only thing that kind of ruined it really was the hackers and the amount of them. I'm hoping that we do get the Season 6 version back in the spring when this map drops. Obviously, they're going to have to make some tweaks in terms of things like redeploy balloons and zip lines for the high skyscraper buildings, all that kind of stuff. But I'm pretty sure they will make those tweaks, and I'm pretty sure that when we do get that, Verdansk coming back this year is going to be absolutely phenomenal. For me, this is the best Warzone map we've ever had, and I hope that when it re-releases in spring 2025, we get the similar feeling and experience that we got way back playing this map. Fingers crossed anyway. On to the last big map on this list, and it is AlMazra. This was the map that dropped with Warzone 2 and that abysmal movement engine that we had. And for me, with it being a desert map, it feels like there was a lot of open space. The colour palette wasn't all that great. The flow of the map was obviously really, really bad because of what they did to it in terms of the movement. And the fact that it dropped with Warzone 2 just leaves a very sour taste in my mouth. I will say that there was some good points in this map. Ranked on this map was really good. I really like the competitive aspect of it. It gave the map a very different feel, especially because they sort of improved the movement ever so slightly as we went on. I am going to put this down as a Met map. However, I think if we could have this map again with Omni movement, it would feel very, very different, and I'll be very happy to play it with Omni movement. And I reckon if I was to ever get the chance to play with Omni movement, it would probably move up to good. And last but not least is Vondal. Now, for me personally, I believe this is the only Resurgence map that can somewhat compete with Rebirth Island. I don't think it can fully compete with it, because once again, I still play this and think, it's not Rebirth. However, what Vondal does have going for it is that it's got a very, very nice urban setting for the first time in a long time when this map dropped. It was nice to have a map in an urban and a fully urban setting, I should say, rather than maybe just like having a little downtown area or something like that. That was a good thing about it. Also, it's the biggest map, research map we've had in terms of obviously the size of the map, but also in terms of player count. 72 players can drop into Vondal at any one time, and for me personally, having that higher player count led for a much more entertaining gameplay. Sometimes you see the gameplay and sort of the gunfights and stuff drop off in the middle of Rebirth Island games. However, in Vondal, it kind of felt like you were always kind of getting in these gunfights throughout the game because of the higher player count. I don't know how this would play with Omni movement though. I feel like because a lot of the staircase and stuff are very, very tight, and so it gets very, very stacky and stuff like that on the map. I don't think this would do well with Omni movement. However, reflecting on it, I don't know if it will come back, and if it does, I would like to play it again. However, for me personally, this is a good Warzone map. Okay, so this is what we've ended up with at the very, very top of the pile. No surprise. I'm pretty sure you would guess this before you even clicked on the video. Verdansk, the original one, at the very top. Then Rebirth Island as a close second in very good. I will say the interesting point is when this comes in, it is like good and meh. I will say that Vondal being good and AlMazra being meh. I ever imagined that if they would have re-dropped those maps with the Omni movement, I feel like Vondal will go down to meh and AlMazra will probably go up to good. However, I can only reflect on what I played at the time. So for me, AlMazra, I know a lot of people like it, but for me, it's very, very just an uninspiring map. Obviously, in bad, Fortune's Keep and Urzikstan, those two are kind of maps that if they never return once they're gone from the game, I probably won't care about. And then the worst is Asika Island. This is one of those maps where, yeah, okay, I probably don't care about playing it again, but if they would ever bring it back with a different colour palette, I feel like I maybe would want to give it another go. But I don't know how well it will be received, that's the thing. Let me know your thoughts below. I imagine things like Caldera probably will not be good for most people's maps. Let me know your favourite Warzone map and your worst Warzone map below, and I'll see you all next time.